Hey, good morning. My name is Jean-Georges Perrin. I often go by JG or JGP. Welcome to this exciting episode of DataFriday. It's the 20th episode, 20 episodes on the bell already. Today we are going back to talking a bit about Spark and looking at Spark in actions and some of the labs in the second edition. We are leaving temporarily part one of the book to go to part two, and part two is really about ingestion of data in Spark. And the first chapter is chapter 7, and chapter 7 is really focusing on files. Our first labs is really about CSV, and that's what we are doing now. And this episode is I'm going to use my Kubuntu Focus because it's a very fast machine, much faster than my Mac. So it's a little bit easier to do some of the operations. So let's drill in. So we already did ingestion of CSV. That was actually our very first DataFriday, and we are going to go just a little bit deeper. Okay, so let's run this application. So I'm running it from my Kubuntu Focus. I love this machine. Okay, I don't want coverage. I want Java. Okay, so it's a very simple application once more, and see, it displays a version of Spark. So it's 3.0. By the way, 3.0.1 just came out yesterday. I need to update that. And you see that it's displaying a list of books. What you can see, which is interesting here, is that there's a carriage reader in the middle of this title here. That's a bit annoying. And if we look a little bit more at the schema, you will also see that, okay, some of the things it could get, like the ID is integers, author ID is integer as well. The title is a string. And the release date is not a date, but it's actually a string as well. Okay, and the link is of course a string. So let's look at the code a little bit. Okay, so of course, well, my imports, you see nothing fancy here. Spark session, dataset, row, instantiating my class, and then starting it. Okay, so first thing is I'm getting a session. See here, this is how I get the Spark version. It's just by calling the version method of the Spark session, and that's it. Okay, and now is yeah, maybe we should look at the data first, right? Isn't that a good idea? So we are opening books.csv, which is this one, and I am going to open it in the default editor, which is LibreOffice, and you see that I've never actually opened it before, so I can just okay. So what is LibreOffice telling me here? So it's that's because it's a pretty complex CSV file. We should probably read it through and see. There's a lot of traps. So it detected that there were some column, of course. Okay, so ID, author ID, and it detected that. But what it did not detect is that this kind of weird thing there, the stars in front of the title, and the release date is completely messed up. Okay, so there's something that is not working. Okay, I could play with the settings, but let's look at the real data. Okay, let's look at the data in a text editor. Without trying to get any interpretation. So I'm going to open it with the text editor and see. That's where it is. So my separator is the semicolon. Okay. Then what you can see else as well is that I can have so the semicolon. Okay, so just highlighting them. Highlight semicolons, and then I'm spacing out the name, but the banalizer to have quotes instead of having double quotes, I use stars here. Okay, so that's why here you see the stars, because it doesn't get it. So I can actually, if I just do that and that, it starts to be maybe a little bit better, but the string delimiter here, instead of being that, you see that's a star. And now it starts to be a little bit better here in LibreOffice, but that's a thing we need to tell Spark as well, right? And to tell Spark that, let's look at the code in more detail. So you see here, there's an header, okay? You can see the header, you can see it here, okay? I can actually set that probably to LibreOffice as well. I think that's the next tab. And so it's multi-line, see, because we have some carriage returns. You see it as LibreOffice is also showing the carriage return here. The carriage return is not a separator. The separator is indeed the semicolon. The quote character, as I told you, is a star. The date format is mm/dd/yyyy, okay? And that's actually not working in this situation. I wonder if that's, I've got to check that a little bit more. And inferior schema, so it can be the true, okay? And that's how it does it. So you've got all these options. You've got all a list of a crazy list of options. I'll put the link in the video down there, so you can see what kind of options you can have. Okay, and that's how you make Spark understand that this is the data you want to process. Okay, and that's really great. That was a Lab 200. Lab 201 is about the push-down filters on CSV that were introduced in Spark 3. I made a dedicated video on that, and that's episode 15 of DataFriday, so a few weeks ago. And let's have a last look at the CSV ingestion with a schema. Okay, and let's run it first. And you'll see the benefit of having a schema there. This machine is really fast. Okay. So, what do we see here? Is it's the same file. Okay, we're going to use the same file. We're going to open the same file. Yep, the same file, and we are going to see a little bit more, and you see that the date is starting to look like something. It's because the release date is now a date. Okay, and so let's look at how we did that. So code, you've got of course my imports a little bit more. You see that I've got all those types there, data types, decimal types, struct field, and struct type, and we'll see just that in a second. And of course the same as we just used before. Okay, I've got to check what that is. I don't remember that part. Okay, that's something that happens. Okay, so here same thing, void, and then I can actually start my session. You see that I've got my session here, and here I'm building my schema. So really the schema, if you remember, yeah, in this setting it's a bit more difficult to record a drawing, but if you remember, the data frame consists of the data and the schema. Okay, the schema is really the metadata that is associated and defining the data in the data frame. And we've done quite a few episodes on metadata, including episode 16, where I explain how to extend the data, the metadata. Okay, but anyway, so you've got your schema. Okay, the schema is actually called by a data types function. You create a struct type. So the struct type is really about creating this structure. Remember that it can be nested and it can be pretty complex as a schema. Here it's only flat, but you see here that okay, so we're creating a new array, and in this array we are adding fields. Okay, so you've got a set of fields here. So we've got ID, author ID, book title, release date, and URL. Okay, so what we're doing here is we are telling we're forcing the types in. So ID is a type of integer type. Data author ID is also an book title is string type. Release date is release date is a date. Okay, you see a date type here, and URL is a string type. What you can also do at this point is you can change the column names. Spark will assume the column names of your data frame here, as you can see here. Nope, you can't see here. Sorry. No, out here. Sorry. You see that here the title of the book is just title, but in here I change it to book title, and it directly is going to be displayed as book title. And in my schema, after you see it down there, it's also book title. Okay. And so that's where. Then I got a small helper method that is that you will find in the repository, that is showing you the content of the schema, and that's this output there. And then we just do the normal ingestion. Okay, and in this case, it's just you specify the schema here. Instead of having the inferior schema set to true, you specify a schema, and then you will see that the result is what we just said. So what have we learned today? Of course, there's a lot more than just ingesting CSV in Spark, and I already a couple of videos on that. But here is in details some of the options, some of the advanced options on the behavior that Spark is taking when it's ingesting CSV files. In our next episode, we are going to drill down a little bit all the other data format and look at the tricks and the tips and get some tips on how we can actually ingest them a little bit better, understand a bit better how the ingestion works. So thank you very much, and see you next Friday for another episode of Data Friday. Bye.